Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today we're joined by Chen Salomon. Chen, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm always good. I'm always good. So, Director of Engineering at Monday. Um, Tell us a little bit about who Monday are and the mission for the business.
Yeah. So Monday exists for the last more than 10 years. And we change a lot throughout the time, but the main thing is like how can we help teams and organization to outdo their best? We started as a work OS, a platform that allows you to create any kind of use case, any kind of a workflow. How do you represent it in a semi-structured or structured way? But it's super flexible and allow you to use the building blocks such as automations and management that we have, to represent. And in the last year or 2 years, we also added multiple products, a niche product that help us to find different verticals such as Monday CRM, and this year the Monday Dev product that mostly like to agile teams and how they can use our tool in order to do the best.
It's been a pretty phenomenal journey, in fairness, from the business inception and starting off as workflow management system, but actually adding the functionalities, the products, the suites. All it needs is to go online and look at actually the products and features that you can offer growing businesses, to be able to actually handle every single piece of workflow inside of Monday. It's a pretty phenomenal product. I've got to give you guys that. And I think some really interesting engineering challenges we're going to get into today around MondayDB, Monday CRM potentially, and just understanding the sheer scale of the product. So I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for this one. Um, Intro you and your background and how you came to join Monday. I think it would be really good to set the scene in that way.
Cool. My name is Chen or Chan. I'm based here in London, originally from Israel. I started my career in tech, I think, around 15, 17 years ago. Well, it sounds quite a lot when I'm talking about it right now. I started as a developer, joined mostly startups. I've done in one of the startups, Playbuzz. I've been there for 8 years, from being the first employee, then scaling with the company, and ending up as the VP R&D. I managed the R&D both in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and opened another office in Ukraine, in Lviv. And then I joined Monday 4 years ago to rebuild one of the groups, uh, a group that was back then called Framework. The idea is like some kind of applicative layer that will be between the infrastructure, will hold some of our building blocks, and how can we scale it? How can we scale it together with the product, and how can we build the product in a way? And we'll talk about it, I guess, in a platformized way, in a sense, in a way that will allow us to be a super flexible platform and will allow us to add more and more features over this platform. And yeah, and then within my journey in Monday, I had the opportunity both to open our first builders site abroad in Warsaw and now here in London. That's
We're happy to have you. I can tell you that as a Brit, we're happy to have you. Um, Touch on that Monday dev part because I think that's a really interesting piece that I've come to learn about. Talk to us about your dev platform and how you're building that and the extensibility of it to be able to offer all of your customers a great service, essentially.
Yeah. So I think I'll start one step back. Like, we've built a really good platform, and the way that we're building things is the way that it will be. And again, I'll use the word again for flexibility. Like, how can you manage each workflow? And we find ourselves, we are like one of the most heaviest users of our platform, and we find ourselves from a time to time struggling. Like, how can we represent our work? And like this ability to sync between multiple teams, we have over 50, 60 teams development teams in Monday, builders teams. How can we help everyone to sync together? And then when we found a way that we felt comfortable with, that can scale with us, we say, hey, let's package it in the right way. And actually, it came from one of the developers that was super eager around that. And he was the initiator of, hey, let's package it in a product. And now what we're trying to do is like to expose some of the way that enable us to be fast with a high velocity, highly aligned, loosely coupled, which is one of our values as an R&D. How can we do it, and what is the technology that supports us to doing it? And I think that as a developer, I feel fortunate for the opportunity to develop that tool that helps me, or to be able to have my effect on a tool that helps me to do a best and help me to how can we represent it to the management, how can we present progress. So I think Monday Dev does exactly that. It allows you to have the tools that manage the iteration from task level to an epic level to a roadmap, and really allows the team to close the loop internally in a fun, with a great experience, at least from my perspective, around the product. And again, it allows to the admin, to the one that is managing the product or managing the workflow, the flexibility of setting what are the right standards for their organization. So if they have like a different format, a different structure per item, ticket, bug, and so on, the ability to edit it in a seamless way.
Got you. Okay. I'm really interested in that mindset. So you say one dev had this idea of actually offering this as a product or a service. It'd be really useful to understand the problem space inside of Monday at that time and uncovering we should be building a really good developer experience. Where do those problems actually start?
Um, so I think it comes from multiple angles. First of all, Monday is a very much of a bottom-up company. A lot of the ideas come from developers, product managers that really feels a problem. It's in them. They're feeling the right problem. They identify. They were able to bring the data that supports it because we're very much data driven, and it allows us to use it, to find, hey, this is a problem that we definitely need to tackle. And I feel like we're walking around the problem of the Monday Dev as part of our growth or product group, product development group, that they found it as like one of the things that they feel like should be the next thing. And they try to develop it into an MVP and then to a full blown product that we released. Um, yep.
Talk to us a little bit about MondayDB then, because this is a part that I think got me particularly excited. When you and I were chatting and saying, let's do a podcast together, let's talk about some really juicy technical challenges that Monday have got. Straight away, you just came back to me and said, MondayDB. Let's talk about MondayDB. So, talk to us about the product first and the power of MondayDB, and then let's break down some of those engineering challenges.
Cool. So first of all, MondayDB is we call it like the data layer or the data infrastructure that sits behind our work OS. The idea is how can we build a product that will allow us to again be flexible, hold any kind of data that the user tries to input, any kind of data format. How can we make it efficient for scale, for flexibility, for performance, and how can we keep and be able to increase our system limits in a sense and build for the next architecture or build for the next generation or the next scale, which is something that is really interesting for me because a lot of time we find ourselves working in iterable way, meaning like we have a problem and we have a limit, we hit a system limit in I don't know, like let's take if I'm a mail service, I can support up to 1,000 emails per box. Okay, what I'll do next? Oh, I'll solve the next bottleneck. So it will be like 2,000 emails per box. But did I actually solve the problem that allow it to be limitless or in different scale? Probably not. And I think that this kind of thinking is super unique. What will be the major change that will allow us to touch like a whole new scale or a whole new limit? And actually, the scales that we're talking about for this year is like more than 100,000 items per board. So it's not like just growing 2 times; it's growing 10 times, and we're continuing and improving. And hopefully, by the end of next year, we'll be able to generate like some really enormous boards.
Yeah. The thing that I love in there, and it is a bit of a mindset shift. A business that we've had on the podcast, Adian, the payment gateway based in Netherlands, one of their formulas, one of their values in essence, is designed for 20x. So they had a problem, they have a use case, design that, thinking that you're almost going to grow into that engineering problem, so to speak, so that we will continue to use this to solve challenges in our business designed for 20x, which I think that you're actually thinking in the same way and building in the same way, which I think is key when you're thinking about a high growth
Yeah.
business.
And I think more than that, and if it's something that are considering and comparing to different places that I worked in, or different companies that I'm talking to, is that it's very much about the timing. Because if, for example, you're opening a new startup and the first thing that you're doing is building, I don't know, like, and getting ready to a million users, you're either doing something very good if you this is your scale, but you might doing an over engineering. And I think the fact that with the right timing to find the right technology and the right maturity level in the company in order to change it in a way that allows us to do the next scale without, over engineering, I think this is something like really magical. Like to find what the right timing to do things, how should we do it in a way that will allow us to grow, but also be efficient in terms of like the dev time and the efforts that we want to put into such a problem.
Yeah. How do you actually find the right timing?
I don't know. Uh, I'll be honest about
Fine.
that. I feel like it's a lot. You either catch it in the right timing or might be too late, or you want to be too early because you started with over engineering, or too late like the problem is already here. And finding, to be honest, right in the right timing, it's quite hard. I think it's a lot about luck, and I think in our case it was a lot about the product managers and our senior ICs in the devs that was really on it, really always, keeping we're checking pulse with, like, what's going on, and finding, hey, we're about to face a wall, we're not there yet, we're about to face the wall, let's try and break it before we hit the wall. So I think always like to monitor, to find and to know the product limits, and finding what they are and how close are we, and raising the flag with the right volume at the right time. um I think if I need to break down a bit like what I talk by timing.
Help us understand a little bit more about the tech stack at Monday, and it'd be good to get a gauge for why you've used certain technologies or why you've chosen the stack to be able to go and build Monday. And we are going to get to this. I think you've got a really unique mindset when it comes to hiring and bringing people into the business, like we've discussed. But talk to us about the stack and why you've chosen
Yeah.
that as well.
So I think, first of all, I'll start like the technical stack that with us in the company is like, we have still a monolith in Ruby on Rails. We also have, we're building a lot of new microservices in Node. Our client side is in React. We have multiple databases such as MySQL, such as Redis, and so on. Um, and I think here is about, again, scaling, but from a different perspective of scaling. It's not just scaling the product in terms of like the data that is being ingested, or like, um, or how fast can it be. It's only scaling it's also scaling, sorry, in the number of developers or the number of new features. We want to continue and be fast. We want to be able to grow. So as a company, we must keep a tech stack in a way that will allow people to onboard quickly, to bring value, to bring impact quickly. And when I'm saying impact, is like a real value to the users. How can you move the bottom line? How can you change a KPI easily? Because this is the power that we have as a developers, which is super unique. Or builders, we have the power to build things that change other life. We're using code to do it in our case, um, but I think that in that terms, we need to keep the stack that every developer that joined the company should be able to get into the company or get into the tech stack easily, learn. And actually, when we're hiring, we're not hiring people that specifically did similar roles or with a similar tech stack. We're hiring people that we feel can be our really good team members, can are always looking to improve, always looking to bring the next point, the next impact to our users, and I think it shows good results so far.
Yeah, that really is the ultimate goal, isn't it? I've seen it now across a number of businesses. That's really an ultimate goal where you've got a really good dev environment, both technically and mentally, to be able to bring people into the business and get them productive as soon as possible. But again, that is timing as well. Uh, so it seems as if you're at the right maturity stage to be able to do that, that you've got the technical and mental mindset to be able to go and do that.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, I agree. Like the ability to put such a big effort. We have a group that try to improve the dev velocity. How can we make the dev's life easier? We have like our dev portal that allows you to open a new microservice. We have tools for client-side developers like to have like the design guidebook or the design system that allow you to develop faster. What can we do as a company to deploy faster, and what can we do as a company or like as a dev organization in order to help us uh, to outdo their best to bring the impact as fast as we can. So just to have the ability to contribute to those area, the ability for developers to have an internal client such as other developers, I think it's super powerful and really helps us to go as an engineering organization.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I can't agree more. Talk to us a little bit about MondayDB then and some of those technical challenges because I'm keen to go a layer deeper into that. And if you can share at least an understanding of what kind of scale you're working at, the data that you're ingestion, and some of the infrastructure that you have to build and why you have to build it a certain way, that'd be really good to understand.
Yeah, so I think from what I can share about it, I like it's a definitely we have millions of users and they're ingesting data into the system. And we're seeing the need for board, which is like one of our basic entities that is growing. You need to want to ingest more and more data because a lot of new data, like new data points exist. You want to integrate it as part of your normal workflow with no code, low code tools. You want to integrate it in. So you have an integration, for example, if you're a CRM, you want to integrate every lead that you have. So this need brings us to a bigger boards that if back then, 10 years ago, 4 seconds was something that I can stand in order to wait for my data. Now I want it in a second. I want it to be filtered and sliced and diced and everything. I want it to be here and now. And I think it's a different engineering challenge than before. Both the need for performance, both the expectations of from us. And this is what brought MondayDB, and we're trying always to innovate and think about the next scale. If the first version was about to define what is a large board, and how can we load it faster, now is it increasing our limits, support it all over our product with filters with the API, um, and also add it to our dashboards, which is super important too, like not be able just to ingest the data but also have the ability to create some insights out of it. So yeah, we have multiple layers of like caching, and how can we do like fast or smarter data ingestion in a way that it will be indexed, that it will be relatively easy to read it, but also so it can be like very fast to insert new data in a new format, because our tables or our boards is something that does not have a specific format. Each user can create their own columns and structure. So how can we keep, because on one hand, if you're losing the flexibility, you can definitely create a structure that will allow us to move very fast, but you don't want to lose the flexibility. So no, how can we remove this trade-off? um, so those are just some of the things that, or the struggles that we had from the engineering perspective. And I think the architecture team or the team that is running the MondayDB project are doing just amazingly in overcoming those and finding the right solution, and also keeping in mind like how other developers can contribute and not be bounded by this complex technology stack. How can they continue and develop their own way and just consume or use MondayDB as a service that will be super simple for them?
Yeah. The sheer complexity of it is mind-boggling. You touch on millions of users building something that is pretty much fully customizable, low code for businesses and customers being the end point. It truly is something quite special. In truth, it really is something quite special. And like you touch on, the engineering efforts have to be absolutely on point. The trade-offs must be there in their tens and twenties, to try and understand what's the best solution, both internally but externally for customers as well. So MondayDB, in my book, playing around as well, pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah. From my perspective, well, I know the internals, and I've got to admit that I'm super surprised to see like the innovation that they bring in, the level of complexity that they're having in the mind, while keeping our work easy for just to consume it, for keeping our clients happy with the deployment process with the release. Um, because like from our perspective as an engineering manager, I'm always struggling in my head in this like the SaaS world. How fast can we run, and how safe can we be? And you always need to play with those balances, and the ability to run fast and to keep our system stable is something that is super important for us.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to us a little bit about your engineering culture, because I've heard a couple of things in there: highly aligned, loosely coupled. I've heard the understanding for finding people that have dealt with scale challenges before, and it's that agnostic mindset. It'd be really good to break down the engineering culture internally and how you all think and why as well.
So I think if I'll need to break it down into values. So for the first thing that I'm looking in an engineer that joined us is ownership. We have a lot of trust in our engineers, but in return, we'd like them to own the work. And when I'm talking about owning a work, it's about how can we build something, and how do you maintain it? How do you really like know what's happening in the product? If there is an issue, what needs to be done? So this is something that's super important for me. The second one, which is really connected, is impact driven. Impact driven, like what is the value that you bring to your users? It's not, we're measuring developers not by code in production. To bring your code in production, it's a great milestone, but it's not the milestone. The milestone is, hey, I had a business problem, now I solved it. This is like the cycle that I'm looking for in developers. This is the kind of thinking. The data driven is definitely the value that supports it, in a way that I'm introducing a problem from the data. Here's the data. Here's my hypothesis that will solve it. Here's the solution. This is the data that supports. This is the evidence that we actually solved it. Um, and I think a lot comes around transparency as well as a third value from my perspective. The company is transparent in a way that is really surprising for a public company. As again, like we're having a lot of things around ownership. We demand a lot, but from this perspective of sharing both success and sharing what's happened in the business, I think it's like amazing to see. And as part of this transparency, I feel like the feedback culture here is very open. You're getting a feedback on a daily basis. You're sharing your feedback. You have a room to to share your voice, share your opinion, and I think it's definitely a key for us to grow as a company and as a builders.
Yeah, you are a public company. That obviously happened a couple of years ago, which is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And I think going back to our point before, where you're building something pretty phenomenal if you have that transparency and the business has the relationship with employees for them to really understand the mission, the vision, and what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go with the product. People can start to really understand, what do we need to think about building in 6, 12, 18 months time, and why? Because what's coming, they might not understand literally the feature that you need to build, but having that business understanding of, this is where we're trying to go to, this is how we need to think. It changes your thinking from day one thinking to day 365
Yeah,
thinking.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think that what we're doing in the company is that what we're having is like a company kickoff, yeah, like first thing in the year, like early January, you have the company kickoff that to share where the company wants to be in a year, in a few years. It really allows you to always keep in your mind. And we're doing after that, we're doing the same for the builders. And after that, each group does that for themselves or each team. The idea is how can we take the top-down context of where we want to be, what is our north star, where we want to go, and then each developer has the opportunity of doing like the bottom up. What I can do tomorrow, what I can do next quarter, in order to help the company reach the goal, and how can I help the company reach like this north star? And I think it really connects everyone to the same mission, because by the end of the day, it's really easier for us to look, behind this like few months, because I know where the company wants to be. And if something that I can do now that can support it, either like short-term solution, mid-term, or long-term solution, how much effort do I want to put into it? What's the value that we want to see of it? Yeah, I think it's something that really allows us to, it really connects to our culture, but it also enforces the culture. So not sure if we would
Yeah,
look at. Yeah.
love that. Talk to us then. What are the plans for 2024 or even beyond? And what's to come that you can share in confidence about Monday and how you're developing things?
So I think for again from what I can share, like we're definitely into the point of like adding more products and adding more value for specific verticals or areas that we feel that when we can bring a lot of value. That's definitely, and we want to continue and grow with our existing customer base, and even like grow within like new customers and big companies to work with them, because we really feel that we're in the point of help others, help big companies do the next step of how they become more efficient and how can they present the workflows. And I'm super excited on that. Like I'm super excited about the goals that we have for this year and for the next year as a company. And I really hope, and I'm sure that we have the ability to continue and have the same growth that we have.
It's super exciting. SMEs to big companies, enterprises, they present very, very different challenges. So, building products for different subsets of customers,
Yeah,
you guys are going to have your work cut out.
yeah,
You're going to be busy,
yes,
busy builders.
yeah. That's definitely us. And I love that you raised the point, because when you're designing a solution, and I think it's like really fun to design a solution that way, that you need to support, like those it's not like, I'm not sure if this is the optimal customer, but two people in the garage that needs to sync between them. Or I'm personally, like I'm managing like most of my personal project with my wife, from shopping list through like moving home, through planning a vacation. I'm using Monday, and you need to be able to use this the same way with like with different features maybe, but in the same UI that you're also managing like a 100,000 or more users. How can you build this gradual complexity? How do you build it in a way that allows you to easily manage this, and you can acquire more skills, get familiar with more features, add some governance mechanism that allows you to manage bigger and bigger companies within the system. And I think, again, it's another layer that our engineers should have in their mind when they're designing like this building block solution that allows you as a company to grow with.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I loved. Someone here actually internally recommended Monday about a year ago. Played around, recommended Monday, and I was like, looks really interesting. We should go forwards with it. That's a conversation for another day. But understanding, the complexity differences, that's what I found fascinating about talking to you about Monday and some of the challenges that come from, the day-to-day operationally, maybe how you run a business, how you run your life, through to 100,000 users at an enterprise business. And every single decision, whether it's product or engineering decision in between, and the complexities that come with it, that's something that I found fascinating. That if you can get that right with the overarching product, will be phenomenal. And some tough competition out there as well.
That's for sure. Yeah, I think this market has like a really tough competition. which is amazing because it's pushed all of us to our peak of performance in order to do our best and like bring some more value to our users, and of course to ourselves as a company. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, love it. Talk to us a little bit about then your interview process, the growth of Monday, especially in the London office, of what you can share, and importantly, the mindset behind the people that you're looking for. I know you touched on a couple of parts, but I think it'd be really good to break that down for people succinctly.
so yeah, we've opened the builders office here. I think it was August 2022. So almost 2 years. Um, and what we're trying to build here is like almost like it's our second office of builders outside of Israel. We want to build independent teams, and we want to continue with the same values that we have of speed. How can we continue to work fast, and how we continue to work in these scaling issues that we're having, or not scaling issues, but scaling opportunities that we're having. So we're looking at people that is interesting on that. So it's not about having the right technology stack, but having the right mindset. Be able to look a problem, look over a problem in the eye, try to break it, try to solve it. People that are a problem solver. Um, and I think again, yeah, the value that I talked before, people that are open for feedback, that really strive for improvement, strive for excellence. It's definitely those. This is the culture that we try to foster here. Uh, and regarding the interview process, so we have, I guess, like if I'll divide it into two, so we have three technical interviews in a different level of details, from coding to end, which is more of like, let's take a problem, let's break down the differences between what's going to the back and what's going to the client side. How can we do the trade-offs of if I'll move that kind of logic from here to here? And a system design, which is more of an architectural question. Then we have the personal, again, like the culture is super important. Um, so I guess the personal part, management interview and HR interview, just to get to know the person that sits on the other side of the table, and like how can they connect with the team that we have here, um, and be like a really good team member, I guess.
Yeah. I speak to regularly product focused businesses. I see a lot of the same processes. I think it's a really refreshing approach when businesses take the approach of we're not so focused on languages, frameworks. We want people to solve problems. And in fairness, that probably does reflect the maturity of where you are as a business and that mindset of wanting to create an environment where you can get engineering teams to be able to add value from maybe day one, whatever it might be. But I think it's a fantastic mindset and culture to create that. Might be very easy for me to say because I appreciate the hard work that goes in behind that. But I think kudos to you guys and girls. It's tough to get right, but good for you.
Thank you. Um, One thing I'll add about the process a bit, by the way, like I think what's unique here in the process is that candidates really feel, and this with the feeling that we try to bring throughout the interviews is like, how does it going to be a developer in Monday? We're taking like problems from our day to day in those interview questions, so we'll solve it together with the interviewer, the same way that you'll solve them. We expect to solve them in the day to days at work. So you get a sense of like your team members, the challenges, the way that we're reaching problems, the way that we're trying to solve problems. And I find it not only unique but very fun, to be honest. Like for some candidates, they find it fun, like to try and really try and replicate what they're going to do in like this small, super stressful, to be honest, environment of an interview. Um, and I think that that's quite nice from our end.
I love that as well. You have to reflect day to day scenarios of what you're likely to expect at your business and not have something that's quite abstract or very different algos, data structures that might not be relevant to the actual day to day, right? So I love that
Yeah, I
approach.
think by the end of the day, like interview process, at least from my perspective, and I think this is like the company perspective as well, we're trying to predict how good you're going to be as a developer within the company. We're not trying to predict your ability to build a new data structure or solve a lead code or any other like data structure problem. Because by the day, those are the problems that you're going to face, and this is what we're trying to predict. And I think that when we're sticking to this value and sticking like when we're trying to even teach new members how to be an interviewers in Monday, we always keep those signals. What do we need the person that sits with us to have in order to be? What do we need to predict? What are the things that we need to find on those two team members that will help them to be a good team members in our team? Um, yeah, and so far it sounds relatively good. Works for us.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Lastly, top three engineering characteristics in today's market. This can be away from Monday, but technology's evolving so much. What are the top three engineering characteristics, in your opinion, that you need?
Characteristic that I'm looking in people or specific.
Um, Not necessarily looking in people, maybe to thrive in today's market.
Yeah. Um, I definitely flex. I'll definitely start with flexibility. It's always right, but the ability to be flexible around mindset, flexible to have the flexible mindset. And I think to get to now with like the rise of AI, we've managed to run like almost 30 minutes without mentioning AI. I think like it's either that we're not relevant or we really broke a record here. Uh,
Thank you. Yeah,
uh,
I'm pleased.
so I think like what is going to be our role? What values should I bring in order to be excel as a developer? What should I change in more? We definitely need to change something. We definitely need to focus on other things. So I think this kind of flexibility is definitely a key to be a successful, in today's ecosystem. Um, Other than that, like the problem solving skills, to be minded towards the problem that we're trying to solve and not towards the solution that you're showing. I think it's something that I'm seeing quite a lot. People that get in love with the solution and not with the problem, which someone sometimes really hurts the opportunity that we have. You know, if you're in love with the solution and not with the problem, you can't really solve the real problem for your real users. And it happens a lot, around technology. When you find technology that you love so much, you try to push it and use it for every use case that you have. Although it might not be the best technology for this use case, it's not like the same solution for everything. Um,
I love that. I might steal that. If falling in love with the solution, not falling in love with the problem, not falling in love with the solution,
yeah,
right?
definitely that. It's like you see it mostly around seniors. Like when you find technology that you so much love, like so much in love with, I don't know, like React or MySQL. Not every use case in the world fits to the same technology stack. Otherwise, we'll have one DB and one programming language. You definitely need to find what is the right forte of each person and work on that. And I think those two like definitely have like really good signals. Those are the characteristics that I think people should have in order to be um, successful. And I think if I need to pick another one, which kind of connects to the two, is find the right balance between business and technology. Maybe it's the same as the second, but really important for me to emphasize like what we're doing here is finding value for our users. In different company, the user can be a different persona. It can be even internal users or other developers or like end client or I don't know what. But those are the people that we're trying to solve problem for. Technology is our tool, and of course, I want people that like enthusiastic about new technology, about improvements. So how do we keep the right balance between the two? Yeah,
Mental agility, problems over solutions, and finding the balance between business and technology. Love that. Um, that's all for us today. That's all. I mean, it's been a pretty awesome 40 minutes, tucking into Monday, what you guys have been doing. You've been on some journey, since 2012, I believe. The business has gone on some growth, really, really evolved, your product to an IPO, but now like you're at that year of continuing to grow, scale, move in the right direction. So really good for you guys. really good for you guys. A massive thanks on behalf of myself, engineers, our little community, the 5K people that follow us. A thank you. We will be here in 12 months' time, catching up and doing a little debrief on what you guys have done, what you've been building, and how everything's been going. For people listening, thank Chen. All the links are below, and you can see more to their careers sites and more blogs. There's a fantastic blog on Monday and the culture and the growth of Monday. So go and check that out. Do like, share, subscribe, show your friends Monday, get your business buying in Monday. But a massive thank you to you for coming to join us,
Yeah,
Chen.
thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot, and bye for now. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.